Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So, look, I went and got the Isle of Armor DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I always think I don't do enough video game reviews on this channel. Well, Pokemon game reviews. So I figured, right, let's fix that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's review the Isle of Armor. And rather than doing a WASI score and any of that, I thought, you know what? Why don't we just make it a nice, simple, straightforward, honest question? Do I think you should buy the Isle of Armor? Yes. Although do remember, it's a download pass that covers both of them. It's both or neither. But you probably want slightly more explanation than that. Well, the first thing that happens, you get your armor pass, you get on a train, you come out on the Isle of Armor, and there's a rival battle. And your rival's fine, and you battle them a couple times. Remember, you do have different rivals, depending on whether you're playing on the Isle of Armor on Sword or Shield. And you got a little bit of a rival, and I'll be honest with you, it fizzles out a little bit. But it's alright, it's fun to have a little bit of a rival, pops up occasionally to fight you. But then you get past the rival, and the first thing I see, I come out onto the island, there's a Wailord. Like a giant Wailord in the sea in the distance. And look, I know Wailord was in Sword and Shield, and you know that Wailord was in Sword and Shield. But I did not see that in Sword or Shield. And I did play them both. I didn't see that. Now, shortly afterwards, I did see Sharpedo. Now, initially, I'm like, yay, Sharpedo isn't in the Sword and Shield Pokedex. It's one of those new Pokemon from the Isle of Armor that I need to catch to add into my Pokedex. It's charging right for me. Now I can catch it. That one Sharpedo was fine. They're everywhere. And they always come charged, and you can avoid them, to be fair. You can kind of dodge around them, but it's still kind of annoying. Sharpedo do not make me happy. One of my least favourite things about the DLC. But anyway, that's somewhat of a small point. And the reason it looks so cool is because the entire game, or the entire DLC, is Wild Area. And the wild area was my favourite part of Pokemon Sword and Shield. Running around, seeing those Pokemon in the wild, and the first time you get to the wild area and you're like, I haven't caught that, I haven't caught that, I haven't caught that, I haven't caught that. That's what you get in the Isle of Armor. Now look, I know you can just transfer the Pokemon over from your other games. I know if you've got the Pokemon in home, you can just put them straight over and then you're in the game. Where's the fun in that, ladies and gentlemen? I could do that, but I want the Sharpedo to charge at me and then I want to catch it. And that was the overwhelming sense I got. My favourite thing about this was, I'm in a new area, I can run around exploring, there's a whole bunch of Pokemon I have not caught in this game, obviously I've caught them in other games, but I haven't caught in this game yet, and that was delightful. Absolutely delightful. It's all wild area, so if you've got the internet on, there's other people around you the whole time. There are raid battles you can get into. One of the things I found about Sword and Shield, you're either running around doing your thing, doing the story, etc., or you're in the wild area doing raids and catching Pokemon. Mashing them all together was beautiful, and it genuinely did feel like the future of Pokemon. It felt like Pokemon looked at Sword and Shield and went, you know what? The wild area was good. In fact, the wild area was the best thing about Sword and Shield. Why don't we make the whole game the wild area? And I'm sure it's easier to do in DLC. I'm sure it's much, much easier to do as an add-on than it would be for the whole game. I don't know if it would work as a whole game. I'm not a game developer. It's not my question to answer. All I can tell you is, going through this DLC and never really leaving the wild area unless I went in a building really, really did appeal to me. It was so cool. I'd be running around on my way to do one of the trials, and I'd see a raid, and I'd just go and do a raid, and my friends would join in, and it would be awesome. Now, the story itself is very short. Essentially, it's a few trials, a gym, and a boss battle. And I'll be honest with you, it took me like 7 hours to do it, but I was going through all kinds of side stuff and running around and having fun. I did not fly through the story, and I did it in 7 hours. I reckon you could do it in a couple hours easy. But that's not the point. In the same way, all the Pokemon in the DLC are available to transfer from home, with the exception of Kubfu and Urshifu, the new legendaries. Even Galarian Slowpoke, he's new, but they give him away in Sword and Shield. You can get him in Sword and Shield. You don't have to go into the DLC. I got my Galarian Slowpoke before I paid for the DLC. You don't need the DLC. So that's not a reason to play the game. The reason to play the game is, look, there's all new areas, and I can go and catch these Pokemon, see them in the wild, rather than transferring them over from home. And I can go and explore and have this adventure, because, I don't know, I don't see Pokemon as a kind of like, yay, I've got all the Pokemon, now it's over. I see it as an adventure, and along the way, I'm catching all these Pokemon, and that's a big bonus. And it's why, with a couple of rare exceptions I'll get to in a minute, I'm not going to be transferring Pokemon from home into Sword and Shield. I'm going to be catching them in the Isle of Armor, because that appeals to me so much more. Now, here's the other thing. There's no challenge to this. And that's inevitable, right? I don't say that as a negative. This is post-game content. Now, by its very nature, you've already caught all the Pokemon you want, and you've been able to level them up as much as you want. And given the whole candies that you get for doing the raids in Sword and Shield, leveling up Pokemon is easier in Sword and Shield than it has been in any other game in the series. It's very easy to get level 100 Pokemon. So you can make your team of level 100 Pokemon and have them one-shotting anything, and it's very easy. Even the boss battle at the end, I lost one Pokemon because I couldn't be bothered to heal it or switch it out. After using it against a Pokemon where I had a better option just because I wanted to. There isn't really a challenge in this, in terms of the actual battling, but that's not the point. There is a Tangrowth that took me 20 minutes to catch. I got it. That was the challenge. And there's a challenge. Let's tell you about the Digletts. Digletts are cool. I like the Digletts. In this game, there are about 150 Diglett, and they're just buried in the ground, and they got their free little bits. They're a lowland Diglett, I should mention. And you run around finding them. My wife, who has no real interest in Pokemon, spent a solid hour yesterday just running around finding Diglett, because that appealed to her. You don't have to, although doing so will get you, let's just say Pokemon, because we're trying to keep this fairly spoiler-free, Pokemon that you don't get, that you kind of don't get elsewhere in the game. There are other ways to get some of them as well. But you get rewarded for finding a Diglett, is my point. So there's an extra little thing to do there. The game itself, couple of trials, gym, boss battle, it's fun. I enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed it. But it's over quite quickly, and it's not very challenging. But going around and catching all these Pokemon in the wild, and catching, finding all these Diglett, that's what I enjoyed. And it's this real sense of exploration, which I really, really liked here. You can easily look at this game and go, oh, it's short, and I've already got my Pokemon, so it's going to be easy, and I'm going to transfer the other Pokemon over from home, and my mate's going to trade me a Cubfu. Fine. Then it's not for you, and that's okay. It's okay if you're not into this. But I do love it. And one of the things I really like, you can take your Pokemon out the ball. This is something we've had in plenty of other games. I'm replaying Heart Gold. That's a Gen 2 remake. It came out on not the 3DS, the DS. That lets me have Pokemon out their ball. Let's Go did. Now this does. The first Pokemon in your party will be out the ball following you around. And it's realistic. Look how long it takes Cubfu to catch up with me. It takes him ages. Because he's quite a little Pokemon. He doesn't run very fast. He only got little legs. It's so much fun. I spent ages yesterday just running away from Cubfu, just looking how long it took him to catch up with me. Cool things like that make me happy. No, it's not a big deal, but it's an attention to detail. It's something for the fans. It's what we've had in other games. And it's just one thing that Pokemon are doing to go, you know what, this is cool and we think you're going to like it. I enjoyed that. For me, the number one reason to get this is because you're running around a new area, you're exploring, you're finding new Pokemon and new items, and you're discovering these new areas, and that's what Pokemon's always been to me. It's always been a game about exploration and about running around and about finding stuff, and that's what we've got here. The story is short and you can make it easy. It doesn't have to be, incidentally. Just run around with level 60 Pokemon and you'll have yourself a fair bit of a challenge. But you can run around with level 100 Pokemon and it's not a challenge at all. But it's up to you. Play it how you like. It doesn't have to be easy. But they can't just set all the Pokemon to level 100 because then it'd be way too hard for people that haven't over-leveled their Pokemon. So, I don't know. I liked it. But it's the exploration for me that really sold it. There are new Pokemon in the game, but like I said, don't get too excited about the new Pokemon. We've got the Galarian Slowbro line, but Slowpoke is available in the game, in Sword and Shield. You don't need a DLC. And then you got Cubfu, and that's basically it. There is a choice to be made, and this is ever so slightly spoilery, but it's really early on in the game, and they basically told you in the pre-release material, you have to choose Squirtle or Venusaur. Because we know Gigantamax, Squirtle and Venusaur, well, Blastoise and Venusaur, are a thing in this game. You get to choose one of them, you don't get the other one. If you just want the non-Gigantamax version, well, transfer it in from Pokemon Go or Let's Go or whatever you want. And we know, we found out before the game was even released, we've got that Max Soup now that you can use to make Pokemon that could Gigantamax, but this particular one doesn't, into one that does. So you can take a Bulbasaur that doesn't Gigantamax and turn it into one that will when it becomes a Venusaur. So that's kind of cool. Weirdly, there is a version exclusive, but only one. The Dragalge line is only available in Shield, and the Claritza line is only available in Shield. Sword Dragalge, Shield Claritza. Not entirely sure what is only one. I mean, those two have always been a pair, incidentally, but then again, transfer it in from other games, trade with your friend. It's not the end of the world. It just struck me as very odd that there was one Pokemon, or one line, which was exclusive to each game. Overall, I loved it. It gave me... Well, I've already been playing it for 8 hours, and I've not done the decks for the Isle of Armor, and I've not found all the Diglett yet, so I'm still going. I've rolled credits. I've done a lot. I've gone through all the areas, but I ain't done yet. And that's what it is. It is more Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield. It is new areas, more exploration, catching Pokemon. It's an easy one to dismiss with, I'm going to transfer them in from home. Fine. But I think you're missing out if you do. And for me, it's a glimpse of what Pokemon could be in the future. It's a glimpse of maybe, in the future, this will be it. And maybe we'll be able to do these raids or equivalent wherever we are in the world, and we're always going to have our mates running around on bikes around us. That, to me, is extremely interesting. I loved it. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Get nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.